sort of stuff for about 30 years. I've been a biofeedback therapist. Oh dear, when did I start doing that? I think I did my certification exams for biofeedback in 1993. So I don't know what I think that's about 30 plus years thereabouts, maybe a few years before that. Big qualification that I've got that for biofeedback is that I am a senior fellow in the board certified biofeedback certification international alliance. So that should help out. It means technically I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about, though sometimes I wonder. All right, so I've been in private practice over here for about 10 years, and that's because I came back from America. But I used to work in a pain program for Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, and that was the teaching hospital for Stanford University. And we used to take people in for about 6 weeks, and they would have occupational therapy and physiotherapy, and we had a recreation therapist, we had an anesthesiologist, physical medicine rehabilitation doc. You get the idea. There's a lot of us. And basically we would tear that person down and everything that person was doing for around about 6 weeks and build them back up again. So everything from the way that they would iron to the way that they would get in and out of a car and the way they would breathe and all that stuff all had to be changed. So that's what we did, or we tried to do. Okay, I came over here, I was a lecturer in TCD. I was also a guest lecturer in Stanford University's medical residency program, and I was a research assistant for NUI in Maynooth. And I worked with the National Rehabilitation Hospital. At the present moment in time, I'm a member of the American Psychological Association, the British Psychological Society, and the Association for Applied Psychophysiology and Biofeedback. And you all really needed to know that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this little program, and then I'm going to try and share it with you. It's called Easy Air, and I'm going to encourage all of you to get it. Now, it's free for around about 30 days and then switches over to costing you $19.95, and you get the whole thing and they give you a code and all that sort of stuff. And it's all based on teaching to breathe, to get the most out of the HRV stuff. And hopefully by the time we finish today, I'll convince you of that. So let's just take a moment and start this thing. So let me see, I'm going to minimize this. This is all going to take a little bit of time. And I will start Easy Air Plus. There it goes. From my point of view, I know you can't see it yet, but with a bit of luck, we'll get it all sorted out in a second. Yeah, hopefully in a second or two you'll be able to see it. Is it there? Sive, I'm relying on you.
It's
just not.
Yeah.
It's there. All right. Okay. So guys, I'm going to start this thing now. One of the things that I want to show you, okay, yeah, and it's very important because it's going to come up again and again and again through the presentation, is this thing of about 6 breaths per minute. There has been so much research that this is the rate that you want to breathe at. Now, I'm sure some of you will have come across breathing for different reasons. For our particular purpose, we're interested in sort of looking at the whole thing from the point of view of heart rate variability. At least that's where we are today. So I'm going to start this thing now. A little bit of information regarding it. I want you to, it's going to get you to breathe about 6 breaths per minute. You're going to inhale as the little dot goes up, and you're going to exhale. And the inhalation is going to be 4 seconds and the exhalation is going to be about 6. Now, some people are a little bit faster, some people are a little bit slower, but without the equipment, I can't really tell. So let's start this thing. What's going to happen is it's going to do this for a minute, and then it's going to disappear. And then it'll come back up again. I've set it to come back up in about 15 minutes, so it'll keep interrupting us every 15 minutes. Okay, and the reason that I want you to download is if you're doing any work on a computer, I want you to be, particularly a Windows machine, I think, that this thing will remind you over and over and over again to do just basically stop. All right, and so let's go up there. Good for you. And out. No. And out. And then it just goes away. All right, so it's that simple. And then it goes away for about 15 minutes, and then it'll come back up. And each time it comes back up, I will pause us and get us to go into it. So what we'll cover today, right? First of all, the introduction to biofeedback, which is just down here. Then I'll talk a little bit about heart rate variability and what it is, and basically how it's connected. I was saying there how it's connected to me, but how it's connected to us. Okay, and then I'll set up, I will do questions after each session. Somebody may have a question, somebody may not, don't know, we'll see. Okay, everybody, I hope is with me so far. Okay, so what is this biofeedback stuff anyway? Hopefully it'll behave itself. Now, okay, normally when I do this, I've got biofeedback equipment so I can actually show it, and that makes life an awful lot easier because you don't have to use your imagination, but right now you're going to have to use your imagination. So what I want you to start off with is think about a mirror. Okay, you're standing in front of a mirror, and the mirror is reflecting back just basically your image, what's going on here and now. You're standing there in front of, a lot of people don't like particularly looking at mirrors, but they're sort of all around us. You find them in physio gyms. So if a physiotherapist is using them, maybe what they're doing is trying to teach somebody how to walk again. That person could have had a stroke, or they could be an amputee, and they're on the parallel bars and they're walking along. And what the physio will do is put a mirror at the end of the parallel bars so the person can see themselves. And the physio might say, keep your hips level or keep your shoulders level. And as long as the person can see what's going on, they can learn faster. And you see mirrors in dance studios where somebody's trying to learn how to dance. Probably the cliche thing is a stretch bar in a ballet school. And somebody is sort of like standing in front of the mirror and stretching out. But once they've got the mirrors going, they can see their forms. They can learn faster. You see them regular gyms. Some people pose in front of them, but that's not what they're there for. They're there to make sure that you get your posture correct. That's the idea behind them. All right. The other thing that you're probably really familiar with is taking your temperature. You use a thermometer. If your temperature is okay, you just get on with life. Who cares? Okay. If it's too high, you try to bring it down. You might use a bag of frozen peas. You might use meds. You might use a cold compress, whatever. Okay. You're doing biofeedback. You're using a device to tell you what state a chunk of your physiology is in, and you're changing something. Okay, to try and alter it. You're doing biofeedback. That's basically how it works. It's no more complicated than that, really. It's just that with in a biofeedback office or with a therapist, they might be looking a little bit deeper than that. But basically, that's what they're doing. They're measuring stuff, and then you see what's going on. And because you can see what's going on, you're learning to control it. Now, I want to tell you about one guy because there's lots of people who've been doing work in this for a long time. I mean, honestly, it's 50 years running at this stage. But there was one guy by the name of John Bosmation, and this is back in the late 1950s, and he was doing some work. He was doing some work in physiotherapy at that stage, and he was very interested in creating a muscle atlas. Basically, a bunch of pictures that said show what way you are actually connected and where the muscles are and what they're actually doing. The thing was that what was very interesting was that if you were an amputee, and there was quite a few after the Second World War knocking around, he was interested in what a muscle might be doing in your residual limb, given the fact that it wasn't connected to anything anymore, or it was only connected to one end. So he wanted to see what was happening. And now he found a whole bunch of volunteers, and don't know how he did this, but he found volunteers to have needles stuck into them so he could measure the electrical activity in the muscle. I don't know if you've ever seen The Matrix. You're basically just a battery. So everything works by electricity. So he was interested in what was actually happening with the muscles in the residual limbs, whether it was your arm, your leg, or whatever. And what he found was that he was busy measuring stuff, but when people that he was working with looked over his shoulder and could actually see the instruments, they seemed to be able to control what they were actually doing at the time. Now, there doesn't seem to be any great surprise about that, but it was sort of surprising at the time, because people started wondering how much control you had. So he took it and he published it, and a whole bunch of people who were interested in learning, and psychologists and dentists and neurologists and GPs were all reading this article and saying, I wonder if you fed back information about things that you don't normally have control over, could you actually control them? Well, declare to God, yes, you can. You can feed back information about a person's blood pressure, about the acidity in their stomach, about their pupil dilation, about how hot they are, how cool they are. And once they can see what's going on, they seem to be able to adjust it. And so started biofeedback, really, this idea that you can feed information back. You can measure it and feed it back. Now, it's all based on this idea of conditioning, okay? Conditioning is based on this really simple idea that if somebody is doing something and you sort of like it, okay, you just reinforce it. You reward them for doing it, okay? If they're doing something that you don't like, you negatively reinforce it, or you might punish it. That's not a really good idea. The way that this might work is like when you look at pedestrian lights, you're in a situation where you see that little green man and off you go. You've been conditioned to move when you see a green man. You've been conditioned to stop when you see a red man. We do the same thing in biofeedback. Okay, we feed the information back so that you can see what's going on, and then we use operative condition so you keep doing the stuff that you think you should be doing. It's that simple. And like I said, we do this sort of stuff all the time. Every time you've got a 4-year-old who does something or misbehaves, and you just say, you're not going to the circus this week because you misbehaved, you're negatively reinforcing that person. Happens all the time. All right, there's a couple of bits and pieces that we do in the biofeedback world. We can feed all this information back. Again, remember the mirror, that's all it is. So anything that you can measure, you can feed back. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that whatever we measure doesn't hurt. Seems a bit obvious, but basically that's what you're doing. Now, you could feed back information using needles and stick it into a person's liver or stick it into a person's spleen, and then try and teach them how to relax properly. That's not going to work. So what we try and do is we try to use stuff that we've got access to quite easily, that's on the skin, that doesn't hurt. So one of the things that is really easy to measure is your ECG or your EKG. Now, ECG and EKG are the same thing. So if you ever see them, they are completely, totally interchangeable. And I use what's called a PPG. Now, if I'm doing research, I'll use an EKG because it's really precise. And when I'm doing work with people in the office, I'll use a PPG. It's a bit like, you know, those pulse oximeters that you get, and they're on, if you're going into hospital, they're like a peg, and they hold your finger like that, and you can see what's going on from a heart rate point of view. And there's lots of other information you can get from it, but it's a simple little thing. You can just put it on the person's finger and get lots of information. So that's what we use, unless, like I said, we're doing research. But that'll tell us how fast a person's heart is beating. It'll tell us if there's a problem with the way that the person's heart is actually beating. They may have an arrhythmia or something like that, and you can quite easily see it. It's measured in beats per minute, so it's simple enough. You just count doing things, so no problem, or you get a computer to do it. And obviously, the more stressed or anxious, or if you feel pain, or if you're excited, okay, the heart rate goes up. That's it. It's that simple. We know that's influenced by a whole bunch of other things, and I'll get into that later on. But on its simplest level is the more anxious and the more upset you get, the faster your heart rate goes. It's that simple. Right, same then with this next one is the surface EMG. Okay, that's what the little s stands for there, is surface. So rather than sticking a needle into you, so it stands for surface electromyograph. So anytime you see the word graph, it means picture. Myo means muscle, and electro is the electricity. So the electricity, a picture of the electricity in the muscle. That's basically what it is. All right, so it allows us to measure tension. So rather than movement, it allows us to see how tight or how relaxed a muscle is. We measure it in microvolts. Those don't need to know that. Same sort of idea. Most people, when they hurt, tighten up. They go, or it won't be that extreme. But if you break your arm or whatever, you'll probably tighten up the muscles around the break. It's sort of like our natural version of splinting. And if we feel pain, 9 times out of 10, we'll grit our teeth or we'll tighten up around it. And the next one, EEG. There's an awful lot of people measure EEG. I do too. Now, this is the Electroencephalograph. So there you are again, graph meaning picture. Enceph, it's your brain, okay, in your head. And electro, so the electrical activity coming from your brain. And some of it's fast, some of it's medium speed, some of it's slow, depending on what it is that you're doing at the time. Again, we measure it in microvolts. And the thing with this is that the more excited you get, or the more stressed or anxious or pain you experience, the more erratic the signals tend to be. It's not that you go into one, you mightn't get really fast, but it starts getting really erratic. It's very odd to actually see. And it's such a big area that there are biofeedback therapists that specialize in just EEG biofeedback, and they're called neurofeedback therapists. So if any of you are doing any sort of looking around and you see neurofeedback, it is biofeedback, it's EEG biofeedback. Okay, the next one that we look at that's easy is respiration. And again, we just use, we can see the rate, how fast you breathe, how slow you breathe, all that sort of stuff. We're using basically a band, just a strap around your middle. And as you breathe, your tummy moves in and out, or your chest moves in and out, depending on how you're doing it. And we can measure it. We can count it basically, or just get the computer to do it. And that's the morphology. We're looking at the shape that's actually produced on the screen to see, is it right? Could you do it better? That sort of stuff. And we're particularly looking at, do you go low and slow? Do you breathe using your diaphragm or your chest? Okay. Again, the more anxious and excited you are about things, the more pain you feel, the faster you'll breathe. I mean, classic example of that is just an actor. When they're trying to act anxious, they go, you'll see them. If you hit your thumb with a hammer, okay, chances are you go, so your breathing will become erratic. You go, I can't breathe. Ow. And your breathing changes. And because your breathing changes, there's a whole bunch of other things in your body change as a result. Okay, chances are you'll move and use your chest more often rather than doing that nice. Now, that thing has just started again, so I'm going to stop it and just switch over, and I want everybody to notice if they feel annoyed by it. Okay, so let's see if you can see it again. I'm coming down to, let's go again. In through the nose, and if you're just beginning, out through the mouth, or if you're experienced doing this stuff, out through your nose. And away it goes. So let's go back to what we're looking at. Yeah, right. So we've got skin temperature. I'll get back to the breathing again because it's something that becomes an anchor point for pretty much a lot of what is done across the different therapies. Next one that we look at that's very easy is skin temperature. Let's get that to go away. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's Outlook doing its thing. Okay, now I'm interested in your skin temperature rather than your core temperature. So your core temperature or your body temperature, around about 36.5, 37 degrees Celsius, somewhere around there, but it's a range, goes up and goes down. But if your skin temperature, if the temperature that I measure in your skin is that hot, I'm calling an ambulance. That just shouldn't happen. I'm really interested in what we call vasodilation or vasoconstriction. That's how wide the blood vessels are, or how small they actually are. And I can't measure that directly without hurting you, so I just measure your skin temperature. Okay, obviously measured in degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. Actually, you could probably measure it in degrees Kelvin as well, but who knows. Fahrenheit, you'd find a lot in the US. Celsius we use in the rest of the world. And there's different reasons for using things. I prefer Celsius if I can. Okay, the more stressed, anxious you feel, the lower your peripheral skin temperature will be. So that's one thing that happens. The more upset you get about something, the lower your skin temperature tends to go, because you activate the fight or flight system, and the blood vessels constrict. Okay, next one is sweat. Now, this is one of the oldest biofeedback systems that has been around because it's really easy to measure. The more upset you get about stuff, okay, the more you sweat, right? So counterintuitively, when you get upset, you can sweat and get colder, which is why sometimes if you're meeting somebody for the first time and you shake hands with them, you might get a sort of a cold, damp, wet fish type of wrist, very limp, not doing anything much, and just sort of because the person is stressed. They obviously are upset about meeting you, or they're very excited about meeting you. Who knows? Okay. You don't have to worry about what we measure it in. Now, the one thing that I will say about biofeedback, okay, is that most people associate it with relaxing. And that's dominantly what I'm going to be talking about here today. But that's not always the case, not by a long shot. There's an awful lot of people out there specialize in actually getting people to recruit musculature. Okay. You take somebody, very common problem is continence problems for women who have just given birth. Okay, they can learn to do exercises to actually activate the muscles much more efficiently. So we can do a lot of continence training, and it's a very successful area of biofeedback. I worked with people with spinal cord injuries, and we were trying to teach them to actually recruit muscles. So we weren't trying to teach them to relax at all. We want them to do exactly the opposite. That's what we're after. All right. So that's that session. And like I said, that's a very, very quick overview of biofeedback. Okay, let's see if that'll go away. All right. Has anybody got any questions, or has anybody typed any questions? Saif, has anybody said anything to you?
Hello, sir. There's been no questions yet, but if
Great.
anyone has any questions, please feel free.
Yeah, do.
Micro unmute yourself. It's no problem if you'd like anything explained a bit further.
Okay, and we go on. I'll wait for a second or two, and then we'll go on to HRV. All right, I think we're going to be all right. Okay, now, like Saif says, if anything strikes you, you do.
From Manisha, what is the first step if we want to get this done for ourselves?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm obviously biased, so I'll say come to me. And I will talk about that later on. But what you're looking for is a therapist who specializes in biofeedback. And I've got to be honest with you, here in Ireland, I think there's only about, I do a listserv, there's only about 15 people on the listserv in the whole country. And most of them are actually just interested in practicing. I'd say there's only about 8 people in the entire country that I've been able to find that are practicing. So the piece of advice I would give you, like I say, I'm a little bit biased, is get in contact with me, and I will give you all the contact information at the end of the presentation, and we'll figure it out from there. Given our present situation with COVID, it could be a case of getting you to come in. If you're living in the Dublin area, I might get you to come in, but it looks like the office is going to open again around about June 8th if stuff doesn't change. But I'll have a better answer for you in a couple of weeks' time. Stay in contact and get into my website if you want to, and just sort of see. And if there's something special that you're looking for, yeah, just talk to me. I'll tell you where to go or who to get in contact with as best that I know of. But like I said, it's a very small field in this country. So anyway, all right, hope that answers the question. Okay, so let's go on. I'll talk about heart rate variability. There is an area in biofeedback that everybody is very excited about. And let's see, how am I going to do this? I think that what we'll do is we'll make that go away. We'll get there now in a second. And we'll talk about just heart rate variability and what it looks like. So, most people, okay, are familiar with the idea that you take somebody's pulse. And the way that we normally do it is we take it and we average it over a minute, okay? And might take radial pulse, take it on the wrist, if you've ever done it, and you basically just count. Well, what's interesting is, like I said, this is average over a minute, and the problem is if there are any changes within the minute, they're a bit difficult to detect. And if you're a human being, as most of us are, you'll find them even more difficult to detect. Now, if we can get a computer or a machine to do it, that's even better. So what's going on underneath here is what's really happening. Your heart speeds up and slows down, speeds up and slows down, speeds up and slows down. But it's chaotic. At least it looks chaotic. It's not actually chaotic, believe it or not. There are patterns in there, but they're difficult to see. And you can see in this section, this person has started figuring out how to get it all coherent, how to get it all working the right way. And that's down to the mood that they're in, and it's down to their breathing, and it's down to all. This is the way this should be for short periods during the day. You don't want it like this all the time, but some of the time. So if you can spend, say, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, just breathing, basically, because we're going to use breath all the time to actually accomplish this, your heart rate and pretty much every organ in your body is just going to quieten down and behave the way it's supposed to behave. So it starts off looking chaotic, and now it starts looking ordered. And this is what happens. This is what you're getting trained to do. All right. Your heart rate does change over time. Okay. The biggest thing that most people will notice with the heart rate changing is things like going up the stairs. My office is on the 3rd floor of an office building. If somebody comes in the front door of the office building, say they're beating at a 75 beats per minute or 72 beats per minute, they decide to come up the stairs rather than using the lift. They come up the stairs. By the time they get to the door, their heart is beating at 110 to 120 beats per minute. At least it should be. If it's not, that's a major concern. So depending on your activity level, your heart rate increases and decreases. It's obvious, right? Same most of the time. If you're sitting there and you're nice and relaxed, your heart rate is going to be pretty low. But if you're sitting there and you're concentrating and you're tightening your muscles for whatever reason, because maybe you're in pain or maybe you're playing Trivial Pursuit, if you increase the muscle tone, that will actually increase your heart rate as well. Tied into activity to some extent. Breathing, that's a really big one. If somebody pants, heart rate will probably go up. When somebody pants, they're probably using their chest to breathe with. Okay, they're going fast, and that really doesn't help, right? So here's the phrase that I want you to remember. Rather than breathing deeply, I want you to go for low and slow. So just remember that one, low and slow. Diaphragmatic and nice and slow. And slow in this particular case is about 6 breaths per minute. If there are meds that will increase your heart rate, okay, somebody has got an artificial pacer in. Say they've had a heart attack and they've got a pacemaker put in. Pacemaker won't be set at 64, 65, 66 beats per minute. No matter what they're doing, nothing will change. They'll beat at that pace all the time anyway. Right? If your core temperature goes up and down, your heart rate will change. You don't have to worry about that much, but it's just interesting that your temperature during the day goes up and down, and it will affect your heart rate. The really big one okay, is what we call the barrel reflex, the one down here. Okay, it's, if you study geography at all, as soon as you see bar, you know you're talking about pressure, and that's what we are talking about, blood pressure. And one thing that you learn very, very quickly when you're studying this sort of stuff is that as your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes down. And as your blood pressure goes down, your heart rate goes up. Now, if you ask any EMT or emergency tech or nurse or anything like that, they'll tell you, say somebody's been stabbed. Okay, so the blood pressure plummets. The blood pressure plummets because basically they've just stuck a hole in the hose pipe. Okay, and the heart rate goes up because the heart tries to compensate. It's trying to get oxygen and glucose to different systems in the body, so it increases the speed it's going to work at. That happens all the time anyway, maybe not to that extent, but cycles around about 6 times every minute. Heart rate increases and decreases and increases and decreases at least 6 times a minute. That's what I'm saying. Up here, that pattern is in there. It's just not easy to see, but it's there. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about anatomy and physiology. I'm not going to go into it to any great depth, but just so you realize, because it'll help when we're talking a little bit further. The blood comes from your body and goes into the right atria. This, remember, this is done from the point of view of the patient. So what's on the left is on the right, and what's on the right is on the left. All terribly confusing. But anyway, so that's the right atria. So the blood comes from the legs and the lower part of the body and the top part of the body into the right atria. Gets pumped down into the right ventricle. The right ventricle pumps it into your lungs. Your lungs put oxygen into it and send it back to the heart again. The heart receives it in the left atria and pumps it into the left ventricle. The left ventricle pumps the oxygenated blood up to your brain, the top of your body, and the lower part of your body. Now, unless you're particularly interested, you don't have to learn that. But if you are interested, I have connected to a YouTube video, and if you talk to Sive nicely, she'll give you a handout that I created, and it'll allow you to look at YouTube videos that show how it all works. This is what you used to say. Oh, off again. Presume you guys can hear it. Let me stop it for a second. See how this thing interrupts you? Even in the middle of a conversation or inside when I'm talking. Hopefully you can see it in a second. There we go. Let's do it again. Check your shoulders. So relax more when you're breathing out. So when you're breathing out, just drop your shoulders. Make sure your legs aren't crossed. Maybe change the position of the chair. Put your hands in your lap. And just relax. And for the period of time that it's up, you're not thinking about much else. I know I'm nothing over it. And away it goes from my point of view. I think you guys can still see it. Let's go back to our mind map. Right, you don't need to know about the atrial node and all that sort of stuff, but this is the stuff that you're probably most familiar with, and it'll be on at the front of every TV show about medical. They always go beep, 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 beep. Then it goes flatline, and then everybody runs around like they've got there's no tomorrow, to say somebody's having a heart attack, and they start jumping on their chest. What we're really interested in is the distance between this wave and the next one. So here to here to here to here, and these are all the same. But what actually happens in real life is that they're all different. Sometimes there might be 750 milliseconds between one beat and the next. And the next one might be 1300. The next one might be 850. So the heart is changing all the time. That's heart rate variability. Okay, and another dominant influence, and I'll get back to this in a second, is the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system and how they all work. Okay, and then we get into the functions of breathing, and I won't go into all of this, but this is your diaphragm. This is what it looks like. Okay, it's around about nipple height. Most people think it's really low. It's not. It's in your chest, and it's around about the height of your nipples. It goes up and down and up and down. And when it goes down, when you're breathing properly and you're moving it down, there's 28 feet of intestine, a spleen, a pancreas, 2 kidneys, and a liver. And they've all got to go somewhere. So they go out. So when you're breathing diaphragmatically, it feels like you're breathing from your stomach. You're not actually breathing from your stomach. If you were, you'd be in big trouble. But it's the diaphragm moving up and down. Now, here's another thing I want to talk to you about really quickly, okay? When you respire, the cells in your body are trying to get rid of carbon dioxide. And this is important to realize. Carbon dioxide is not a toxin. I don't know, I've heard this phrase used a lot. It's not, toxin means poison. Carbon dioxide is not a poison. Too much of it is, but not enough of it causes a big problem. You need carbon dioxide in your body to get the acid base right in your blood, and you don't have to worry too much about that. Again, if you look at a lot of this stuff on the YouTube videos and that sort of stuff, you'll get more information than you care to know about. But that's just next time you're in boots, if you see something like get rid of this toxin, be very careful about toxins. The body doesn't normally produce poisons. Poisons put you into hospital really fast. Okay, sometimes you use muscles. Not sometimes. Every time you use a muscle, the big muscle that we're interested in, like I said, is the diaphragm muscle. But sometimes, particularly when people are using their chest to breathe, they might use muscles in their upper back, which is a bit strange, but it happens a lot. Intercostal muscles between the rib cage. We're trained to look for breathing behaviors, and you look for this in yourself. A lot of times you might find yourself yawning excessively or coughing or sighing. Coughing's not a good one with all this COVID stuff going around. Okay, but an awful lot of people start inhaling before they finished exhaling. So as a result, they end up panting, which is not a fantastic idea. Next off, okay, we've just talked about the nervous system. You learn about how the nervous system is put together. There is an awful lot of it. And what they've done over the years, they've broken it down into different parts. We're particularly interested in this part here, the autonomic nervous system, the nerves that go to the automatic parts of your body. There are 2 chunks of your nervous system that go to automatic parts of your body, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And they're like a seesaw. You spend your life going from sympathetic activation to parasympathetic to sympathetic. Okay, you get the idea. All right, and then there is actually another one, though we don't pay an awful lot of attention to it, and it's in the gut. And it is huge. It's like a second brain in some respects. This thing is getting an awful lot more attention over the last couple of years. It's called the enteric. But the ones that we're primarily interested in are the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And as part of the parasympathetic nervous system, one of those nerves is really interesting to us. There are a couple of nerves come straight out of your brain, and they are called the cranial nerves. There's 12 pairs of them. The 10th ones are called the vagus nerves. Okay, they are parasympathetic and they go straight to your heart. They go to every organ in your body as well, but they particularly go to your heart. So we're very interested in them, okay? And how do we actually manipulate them? So again, you see, if you're reading, a lot of references about the vagus nerve, and this is one of the reasons why. Okay, let's see, is there anything else? Okay, let's go on down. Hold on, let's get rid of that one there. And I won't go into what we use to measure it. Applications, there's been a load of research. I'm just going to throw that up real quick just for you to have a look. I put migraine because of who we are and what we're doing. Okay, there has been a lot of work done with HRV and migraine, and it is increasing. There are 14,000 plus citations on PubMed. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I've got a link to it on that handout, and you could read for the rest of your life and probably a few more just on biofeedback, and particularly on HRV. But it seems to affect a lot of different systems, and a lot of different people have been looking at different things. Now, it's not a magical miracle cure, not by a long shot, but it's interesting to see how much work is going on into different areas at the present moment in time using HRV. It's all over the place. There's a lot of people using it for sport, and there's a lot of people using it. They're just learning to use the vagus nerve properly, switch on and switch off, so that when they're going to go and give that presentation or they're at a meeting or whatever, they just learn how to let go. And that's what this is all about. Now, this is a biggie, and terribly sorry. It looks like we're going to go over. So if you have to go, feel free. And if not, just hang around. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about resonance. Okay. I don't know if any of you have heard of this about sort of like brigades walking across, or soldiers walking across a bridge. They have to walk out a step. In 1820, in England, some bunch of soldiers were on a bridge and they started walking, and they walked in step, and the bridge started vibrating. The next thing you know is the bridge fell apart, and all the soldiers, a good load of them, actually died. That is still the case, and every single time that a platoon or whatever is walking across the bridge, they walk out a step to make sure that they don't make the bridge resonate. Okay, so it happens all the time. If you're learning to play the clarinet or the tin whistle and you overblow, you'll find that it screeches at you, but when you get it just right, it resonates, and you get that really pure tone out of it. See, it doesn't matter, clarinet, tin whistle, trumpet, whatever. Don't overblow it. And that's what resonance is. When you get the force matching how would I describe it? Say with the tin whistle, it'll have its own frequency, and when you get the right amount of force, that thing will resonate. We do it all the time. We do it with pianos, we do it with all sorts of musical instruments. Okay. The interesting thing is that the human body with the heart rate does the same thing. So remember, if we go further back up, okay, the blood pressure is increasing and decreasing roughly around about 6 times a minute. With some people, it might be a little bit faster, with some people, it might be a little bit slower. So basically, if you visualize somebody on a swing, they're getting pushed. There it goes, and then there it goes, and there it goes. So you can imagine dad or mom sitting there pushing the child on the swing, and that's the blood pressure going up and coming down and going up coming down at a rate of around about 6 times per minute. Now, what happens is you come along with your breathing and you breathe at the same pace. And if you breathe at the same pace that the blood pressure is going up and down, you're breathing in resonance. You're making the system work really, really well. So the breathing is like having another adult. So we say mom is pushing the child on the swing, then dad comes over and starts pushing the child at the same pace. We've got the two of them working together, and suddenly the child's getting up further and further and further. And if they do it really well, the child go wee all the way around, which is not a good thing. But you get the idea. So that's what resonance is when you're trying to get the two things aligned. And this is what you're trained to do. So when you are doing all the breathing practices with all the different breathing styles that are out there, with all the different yoga styles that are out there, this is what you're trying to achieve: resonance frequency. You're trying to get it. And the resonance frequency for most people is somewhere around about 6 breaths per minute. But like I said, some people it's a little bit faster, some people it's a little bit slower, and the only way I know is to actually hook them up and have a look. All right, off we go. So, any questions on HRV? No? You all right? Okay, I'll keep going. All right. Yeah, this is definitely going to go over. And like I said, if you want to sort of like scatter, please feel free to do so. If not, just hang around. Now, this little device, again, the one that I just showed you on the computer that keeps coming up, it's to remind you, just breathe. I use this little device called a Gym Boss. It's got a little thing on the back of it. I can put it onto my belt. And I'll set it to vibrate every 30 minutes. So when I'm working away, it reminds me, just breathe. It's only $15.95. You can order it from Amazon. Just get the Gym Boss Classic. That's it. You can connect to it. I don't know if you can see that actually. Hold on, I'm just thinking you can't. There it is. So you just get online and you can order it. No problems. All right, so that's the Gym Boss. And let's see if we got anything else. There are loads of little devices. There's one called Breathe to Relax. And this is a free download. And you can get it in the Apple shop or you can get it for Android. And it's just a thing on the phone. And again, you set it for 4 and 6. And you breathe in and up it goes, and you breathe out and down it goes. And it's got some nice little music. You can just play with it yourself. And again, you're setting it for 6 breaths per minute, in for 4, now for 6. And that's not absolute for every single person, but it's a good place to start. Okay, there's a device called the Inner Balance. And let's see. This one is produced by a company called HeartMath, and it will allow you to see your heart rate. They've got a nice little animation about how it all works, and they give you an example there. This is it, chaotic. You change your mood, and suddenly everything starts sorting itself out. Now, I will add that it's not just mood. Actually, it's very little to do with mood. It's much more to do with your breathing style. You're activating and deactivating the vagus nerve. You're using breath to do it with. It's not that the breath is the solution in this particular case. It's the fact that you're using the breathing to activate the vagus nerve. All right, we're off again. I think that what I'll do is just stop this thing because do it this time. And then start it once again. Just reset yourself. Drop your shoulders, make sure your legs are uncrossed, put your palms in your lap. And for 4. Out for 6. 4. Out for 6. As a psychologist, I'm very interested in how you feel, what your frustration levels are like. Go away. Screen sharing has stopped as the shared window is closed. Okay, I'm going to try and start everything up again. Because it's all doing very silly stuff. There we go. All right. And then there's that link to the Easy Air Plus. And once again, this is what it looks like. Just get to it on the website. BFE is the name of the organization that have it. Actually, there's a few other organizations that do, but these guys are only based in Europe, so I defaulted them. And that's it down there. And you can download it and put it onto your computer and set it up whatever way you want. But if you want the settings that I've got, just get in contact with me. There'll be no problem. I'll forward them on to you. Okay, and just do it on the screen share, so there's no problem that way. All right, now this is for people with migraines. And I wanted to talk just very briefly about stuff about triggers. I'm saying very briefly. I don't think I've ever done anything very briefly in my life, but anyway. Okay. We'll assume that when you get to 100, this is how triggers work. An awful lot of people say, this triggers my migraine, that triggers my migraine, and their universe gets smaller and smaller and smaller because they're avoiding everything. It's never as simple as one thing. So this is how it works cumulatively. So you don't sleep well last night, okay? So that's 40 points. Remember, as soon as you get to 100, you're going to have a migraine. These are completely arbitrary numbers. I just made them up. Okay, so you don't sleep well the night before because you've woken up a few times, you've had difficulty getting to sleep, whatever. Maybe you had a presentation the following day, maybe you're just wired, but you've got insomnia or something. So it's worth 40. You're anxious that night because you may be doing that meeting or that presentation the following day. So 20, okay, you haven't done any exercise in the last 3 days. 30, okay, you ate something you previously identified as a possible trigger. MSG was very popular in sort of the mid-1990s. Everybody's going around trying to avoid it. We've got sulfates, you've got different preservatives that are used in wine and in beer. And yeah, they're triggers. So you've identified that this has pushed over the edge in the past. So you try and avoid it sometimes. You're depressed. You're anxious because of the argument that you just had with your nearest and dearest. That was worth 20 points, and they're twits anyway. All right, the medication you're taking isn't suitable then. This is a biggie. An awful lot of people misuse medication or don't take it in the optimal way. That takes going to a migraine clinic or a physician who really knows what they're doing. Total 160 points. Okay, migraine is inevitable. You're over 100 points, it's on the way. Okay, if it's not already there. Okay, now, in this particular case, you start managing. You do your exercise, your sleep, your nutrition, you start managing a bit better. So you sleep a little bit better. No magical cure, you just do it a little bit better. And instead of 40, you take it down to 30, because you get an extra hour or 2, or maybe the quality is a little bit better, whatever. You've been to a sleep clinic, you've been to talk to somebody, and you're just doing a little bit better. You're a little bit less anxious. You've been to therapy or talk to a good friend, you're a little bit less anxious about the presentation, and instead of 20, it's now 10. Hasn't gone away, but you do a little bit better on it. You've started to exercise regularly. So you're out there and you're walking your, what did they say, to 4 to 10,000 steps. I think that's a little bit too much. But anyway, okay, so I think it's definitely too much. I certainly couldn't do it. So you go out, you exercise a little bit, walk, just walk. Don't worry about anything else. It's amazing the effect it'll have on your neurology. We're designed to walk. You've become convinced that food that you ate was not as big a trigger. So you ate cheese the night before and you realize, you know what, it's not quite as bad as I thought it was. So it's now 15 instead of 20. You start taking magnesium or another supplement, and suddenly that's improved. So you take away 10 from it. You've reassessed the arguments that you've had with your nurse and dearest or whatever. The mood is slightly better. So instead of 20, you're now 15. Okay, and the medication you're taking is suitable. It helps you head off the headache instead of actually trying to suffer. You're through, at least you're doing the right stuff. So instead of being worth 30, it's now only worth 10 because you're doing a bit better. Add them all up, and instead of 160, you're at 70. So the migraine is not going to happen. So it's lots of little things. That's how you manage pain. You don't manage pain by doing one thing. It's very rarely a situation where you can do one thing and it'll all work. You have to look at so many different aspects of your life to figure it all out. I think, I've got a lot of other stuff there about stress and how it actually works. So will I shut up and go away, or will I talk more about stress, or what's the general feeling?
I don't mind. We still have a few people here, so if they're interested, we can continue on. I'm
Right.
good. It's
like I said, what I'll do is I'll keep going. If you're all right with it, I'll keep going. We haven't got far to go, and anybody who's interested can just stay and hang on, and other people can run away. Just work it from there. Okay. All right. Okay. So when you have a migraine, when you particularly have a headache, okay, you're going to get stressed. You're going to get anxious. You're going to probably be a little bit depressed. You could be a bit fearful that you'll have another one, or how bad is this one? And your frustration levels are all going to go. So basically, you're going to switch on. And this is not the best thing in the world by a long shot, but that's what happens. So I want to talk about this book I read years and years and years ago, and it has been updated, and I would really recommend it. The book is called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. It's written by a guy called Sapolsky. And if you're interested in stress and the way it affects the body, I would really recommend it. So we'll talk a little bit about why zebras don't get ulcers. So I'm paraphrasing them a lot. But basically, what he's doing is he's talking about a grazing animal. Now they're eating some grass, minding its own business, not having any problems in the world. And suddenly a lion says, okay, jumps up, your lunch. So zebra takes off like a hot snot. Lion takes off after the zebra. The interesting thing is they both switch on the fight or flight system. They both switch on the systems in the body that help them, one, get out of trouble, or deal with shock, or catch the bloody zebra. And things like the pupil in the zebra, the pupils dilate because the zebra can see things a little bit better. On the peripheral vision, it's straight ahead, they're probably going blind, but on peripherally, they're doing well. It improves by around about 15%. The heart rate goes up, their blood pressure goes up, they start sweating bricks. There's a whole bunch of stuff happens. That the respiration rate goes up. Everything is designed to try and get the zebra out of trouble, or if the lion catches the zebra, that the zebra will actually survive. Now, what's interesting about the zebra is that if the zebra isn't caught, the zebra will go over and 5-10 minutes later will be eating grass again. Now, if the zebra was a human being, the zebra would be over with all the other zebras saying, never guess what just happened to me. And they stay switched on. And that's the problem. The problem isn't the stress response. The problem is that you stay switched on. And a migraine headache is like being chased by a lion. So suddenly you're hurting and the fight or flight mechanism in your body is switching on. Or you're thinking about the fact that I might get a migraine this Friday, or I might get a migraine over the weekend. I'm supposed to be going out on a picnic on Sunday. I might get a migraine, I might be able to go. Thus, probably guaranteeing that that's exactly what's going to happen. And you've just switched on the stress response in your body. Now, for most of the general population, migraines aside, people will switch on the stress response when they start thinking of mortgages, or taxes, or homeschooling, or whatever. They switch on, they stay switched on. The knack is to switch on and switch off, and that's what you're doing with heart rate variability. You're switching on and you're switching off. And that's the skill that you're trying to learn. So over here is a thing that's been around, like I said, there since 1908. It's called the Epicondylitis curve. And what it says is as your arousal goes up, your performance goes up. So you get more and more and more stressed. That's grand. And then you'll hit a point where you get the optimal level, where you are really on form. That's called being in the zone. And then what happens is your arousal keeps going up and your performance starts dropping down. And that's a problem. And this is where most people are living. They're living in this half of the curve. They're constantly stressed. They're constantly overstressed. If you talk to students who are supposed to be on, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, maybe they are. Now they're definitely not doing their leaving cert in Ireland. I bet you they're all over here. Okay, and when you live over here, things start going wrong. Your body starts producing glucocorticoids in a way that it shouldn't be. It starts producing cortisol. It starts producing all sorts of crud. That's great on a short-term basis. If you're a zebra or whatever, switch it on. But over a long period of time, cortisol, for example, on a short period of time is great when it comes down to releasing sugar, but for a long period in your blood supply will harden your arteries. So the next thing you know is in 30 years' time, you have a heart attack because you've been releasing cortisol for the last 30 years because you haven't switched off. This is why you meditate. This is why you do quiet stuff. This is why you relax. If meditation isn't your thing, do something to quieten down. Live on this side of the curve. Ideally live up here, but that's really difficult to do. But certainly live on this side of the curve, not on this side. All right. The same thing applies to our situation with the COVID thing that we're dealing with right now. And one thing that really concerns me is that people don't recognize when they're anxious. So let's give you an example. We're all trying to do the social distancing stuff. Really, really, really important. Now you're walking down the road because you want to get a little bit of exercise out, get out of the house. So you're walking down the road and somebody's walking towards you. They want to give you space and they move out and around you, and they might even move into the middle of the road. So that's not a good idea. Don't. The chances of you being hit and killed by a car far outweigh any chances. Far outweigh any chances that you'll have problems with COVID. So the And the thing is that that person thinks they're doing you a favor, but actually what they're doing to themselves, even though they don't realize it is, they're causing themselves to be a little bit stressed. So you're a little bit stressed because they're possibly giving you space. They think they're polite. They're a little bit stressed. It's happening again and again and again, and switching on, and the person's staying switched on. And even when they're doing something to relax, to unwind a little bit of exercise, they're being stressed while they're actually doing it. And that's not the best thing in the world. And the idea is that if you're in the same situation, breathe after it, quieten yourself back down. Guarantee you that you'd probably be a little bit stressed and it'll be a little bit unexpected. Okay, so any other questions about any of the stuff? About anything I've covered? I know I did this really, really fast. An awful lot of what I've covered